Like if I'm just like,
There's a maximum number of people that can possibly fit on this planet. At some point, we will reach that number. So once we do, we have to think about how do humans continue to grow at the rate that we're growing once we've reached the maximum capacity of this planet.
there's this really good quote I need to show you by Elon Musk about how important it will be for humans to be interplanetary.
But really, this is less about who goes there first, or it's the thing that really matters is making a self-sustaining civilization on Mars as fast as possible. It's just different from Apollo. This is this is really about minimizing existential risk and having a tremendous sense of adventure. I mean, the thing that Mars really represents. I mean, there's the whole life insurance and protecting life and ensuring that the light of consciousness is not extinguished, which I think is incredibly important. Backing up the biosphere. And to be clear, this is not about everyone moving to Mars. It's about becoming multiplanetary. I think Earth will be a good place for a long time. But it's the probable lifespan of human civilization will be much greater if we're a multi-planet species.
As a result of overpopulation, it's evident to us that we're going to have to figure out how to build higher or how to build lower. But what about suburbs? What do you think the result of the future will be? Do you think that we'll continue to go down the path of using cities for suburbs? Or will we mandate people to live in cities once there's 100 billion people? What's the process? Do you think people have to do it on their own and they have to figure, well, if we want our future generations to be able to have space on this planet, we're going to have to go to cities? Or is it just going to be the environment correcting itself?
I've always imagined it as every single suburb is going to turn into a new city. Just at the rate of urbanization and at the rate of our growth, I think more people are just going to move into a suburb. And as a result, some buildings are going to get turned into businesses, which are going to get turned into larger buildings. One of them is going to get knocked down for an apartment complex. The small building will get turned into a 14-floor building. The 14-floor building will get turned into a 28.
And another thing I think of is that there's no way that 20, 30 years in the future we don't have more efficient transportation. You see the Boring Company, one of Elon Musk's company, building underground tunnels which would make a 2-hour commute in LA 6 minutes, and you start to think, what else are we going to be able to figure out by the time my kids are alive, and their kids are going to have even crazier stuff to get them from place to place. Obviously the car has been able to maintain for way longer than that amount of time, but it seems like the rate at which things are changing is vastly increasing.
The rate at which things are changing.
Like, think of it this way.
I think that's obviously true. Like Moore's law, that the amount of processing power on a single chip is going to continue to double. So Moore's law has been driving the technology revolution.
Do you think that applies to medical advancements?
I think it applies to everything.
So
And
you would
that's
think that...
I think that's one of the things that makes it difficult for humans to really see how fast things are changing and to adapt to it, is because
What do you think the life expectancy of our grandkids will be?
at this point I think disease is a technical problem. Aging, there are a couple different camps. I like to think there are like 6 real core things that are going on inside of humans. There's this guy, Grayson is his last name. Link in a video there. He talks about how there's like 7 deadly things, 7 actual deadly things. Cells that are in our body that are supposed to die don't actually die. Cells in our body that randomly mutate and our body doesn't know how to destroy. Parts of our body that shut down and then we aren't able to regenerate the cells that keep them alive. And cells that are supposed to continuously be reborn aren't regenerated at the rate that they're supposed to. And those things just like together create conditions for a single event to occur where you die. So like if you think about it, everybody dies in a single instant. If we can keep pushing that single instant back, once we pass the rate that human life is increasing at 1 year of life expectancy increase per year, we've defeated aging. But if you think about where we're at right now, we have an increasingly large number of people that are getting over the age of 100, increasingly large number of people that are getting over the age of 105. We have had 0 people get to the age of 125. So the fact that we have had people living longer, we've seen people live longer, but we still haven't broken certain barriers. And what it makes me think of right now is like the 4-minute mile. We used to be like, there's no possible way that humans will ever be able to run a sub 4-minute mile. And we got closer and closer to that, and then we broke it. And we're going to keep getting faster and faster, but at some point we just reach this limit that just we can't overcome. I have a feeling that we'll be able to overcome whatever those limits are, but it might have to be outside of our biology. Like this organic material might physically, or like the body that we take, might physically not.
You think you could preserve someone's spirit forever?
Yes, I do.
I mean, that would logically make sense as to the way that we would live longer, only in that, I mean, you talk to someone who is 100 years old, and it quickly makes you realize what aging does to your body and what their life would be like, and if we would want that life. And so, if we are able to figure out how to use technology to be able to completely replace the pain out of aging to make it so that you could live forever with your spirit and a young body, I think people would really like that. Who knows? That's obviously not something that is going to be immediately in the future, but it's definitely an interesting idea to bring up because people talk about the world as if it's always going to be the way that it is today, but that's obviously not true, and there's going to be systematic changes that completely alter the way that people live and how their lives work and how they spend their time. And it's cool to be able to talk about things like this because in the future people can look back on this video and say, it's crazy that someone in 2018 knew that that was coming.
Because the crazy ideas of today end up just being commonplace tomorrow.
Right. It's as if, like, of course that happened. Not what it would be like now if you were to imagine 20 years ago someone saying, yeah, you can pull out your cell phone, which first of all wouldn't have been even remotely the same as it is now, and order a car to come pick you up wherever you want. Complete stranger drives you to where you want to go. People would not have believed you. But yet it manifests itself today, and so that's why I think it's really interesting to think about what could be on this planet in the next 10, 20 years.
But a lot of people dreaming about future cities, they imagine that actually the solution is sort of flying cars, drones, etc. You go above ground. Why isn't that a better solution? You save all that tunneling cost.
Right. I'm in favor of flying things. Obviously, I do rockets, so I like things that fly. There is a challenge with flying cars in that they'll be quite noisy. The wind force generated will be very high. Let's just say that if something's flying over your head, if there are a whole bunch of flying cars going all over the place, that is not an anxiety-reducing situation.